I overheard my girlfriend whispering about her husband and kids. 2 years of love turned into the ultimate betrayal that shattered everything. I'm 33, a regular guy. Nothing flashy. Decent job, stable enough life, and a bit of a rep as the go-to guy when people need advice. I've always thought I had a pretty good handle on reading people. It turns out I'm not as sharp as I thought because a single overheard phone call flipped my entire life upside down. It was nearly midnight, and my girlfriend was in the other room. She'd said she was calling a friend from work, which was weird enough at that hour, but she was whispering, and something about the tone pulled me in. My gut told me something was off, so I listened, feeling more like an idiot the closer I crept to the door. But then I heard it, clear as day. The kids, she said, and then, as if that wasn't enough to punch a hole in my reality, she mentioned her husband. She was trying to calm someone down, talking about schedules like this was just a regular night. Kids, husband, my girlfriend of 2 years. I swear, time stopped. I felt my head spin, my brain refusing to piece together what I was hearing. She had kids? Husband? After 2 years together, I thought I knew this woman. Apparently, I didn't know a damn thing. When she finally came out of the room, she looked at me and smiled like everything was fine, like she hadn't just ripped my life apart. I didn't smile back. Who was that? I asked, keeping my tone steady. Maybe I wanted her to lie. Give me something that would make sense of this. Oh, just a friend from work, she said too quickly, eyes darting away. She was terrible at hiding it, but I'd been blind to it all this time. I kept pushing. Really? Because I heard something about kids and a husband. Her face went pale. I watched as her mouth opened, then closed, like she was scrambling for an excuse, a way to smooth this over. I wasn't letting her get away with it. Are you married? I asked, my voice deadpan, even though I could feel my pulse racing. Her face went through a dozen expressions in 2 seconds before she finally admitted it, the words spilling out like poison. Yes. It's complicated, she stammered, as if complicated was supposed to make this better. Complicated? Complicated? I nearly laughed. You've got a whole other life, a husband, kids. That's just complicated, she sighed, looking down, like this was some sort of therapy session instead of the hell she dropped me into. I didn't plan for this to get so serious, she mumbled. I never thought you'd get so attached. Attached? I spat, barely able to keep it together. You mean like any normal person would after 2 years? We were talking about moving in together, starting a life, and you're just, what, waiting to see how long you could juggle two lives. I didn't want to hurt anyone, she said quietly, and it took everything in me not to scream. I wanted something different. A break. I don't know. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You wanted a break? My voice was practically shaking with rage. Break from what? Your husband? Your kids? You thought you could keep both lives like they were some separate hobbies? She looked away, guilt written all over her face. But there was something else, too. Defensiveness. Look, I love my kids. Okay? They come first. I just wanted something for me. That was it. I felt a rage I'd never known before. So I'm just a side project? A way for you to have something for you? You know what? I'm done. I'm done being played like an idiot. I grabbed my phone and pulled up her family contacts. She'd shared them with me once when she had some emergency and needed me to call her mom. She saw what I was doing and her face drained of color. What are you doing? She whispered, panic flashing in her eyes. I'm making sure they know who you really are. Before she could stop me, I hit call on her mother's number. She lunged for the phone, practically screeching. No, you can't do that. I held the phone out of reach, and after her mother picked up, I spilled everything. Told her about the affair, her daughter's lies, the 2 years of double life she'd been leading. Her mom was stunned, practically speechless, and when I finally hung up, my girlfriend was seething. You had no right, she hissed, shaking with fury. You've ruined everything. I stared at her, disbelief clouding my vision. No right? You've lied to me, your family, your husband, everyone, And you're telling me I had no right? You lost any right to privacy the second you started living a double life. Her eyes narrowed, and I could see the wheels turning, like she was already plotting her next move. Do you think you're the victim? You think you're some kind of hero for blowing this up? You're no saint, trust me. I almost laughed, the bitterness thick in my throat. You don't need to be a saint. You just needed the truth, which is more than I can say for you. She stormed out, slamming the door. I thought that would be the end of it. I was ready to wash my hands of her, move on with my life. She had other plans. Next morning, I was pulled into a meeting with HR. Apparently, she'd contacted my boss, claiming I'd been harassing her, but I was unstable. She tried to paint me as some unhinged stalker. I had to sit there and explain myself, show HR the texts, the messages, proving that this was all a lie. It was humiliating, having to defend myself like that. Even though my boss believed me in the end, the damage was done. People whispered. Some looked at me like I was guilty, others asked loaded questions, and it felt like a weight on me every single day. Then she went after our mutual friends. She reached out to everyone we both knew, spinning this story about how I'd stalked her, how I was obsessed and couldn't let her go. She cried to them, played the victim card like she perfected it. Some people believed her immediately, cut me off without even hearing my side. Others came to me, and I had to sit there, explaining and proving everything. It felt like I was constantly defending myself, justifying my own reality, just when I thought it couldn't get worse. I got a visit from the cops. She'd filed a harassment claim, saying I'd been stalking her, threatening her, putting her family in danger. I spent hours with them, pulling out every piece of proof I had, screenshots, voicemails, texts, to clear my name. They eventually saw through her story, but it was hell. Pure hell, sitting there, feeling like a criminal for doing nothing but trying to protect myself. Then, as if fate wanted to throw one more twist my way, her husband called me. He'd somehow found out about me. At first, he was furious, demanding answers, and I could barely get a word in. After I told him my side, he broke down. Turns out, she was trying to make him the villain now, twisting everything to make it look like he'd abandoned the family. She was trying to make him look like the bad guy in front of the kids, just to save her own skin. We ended up meeting, two strangers bound by the same betrayal. Over coffee, he told me how he'd suspected something for years, but had tried to make it work for the kids. She'd fed him story after story about business trips and late nights with friends. It felt like I was looking into a mirror, seeing my own nightmare reflected back at me. In the end, we decided to work together. He filed for custody, and I testified, providing all the evidence I had. It was a brutal, drawn-out battle. He turned on the waterworks in court, claiming to be the devoted mother, begging the judge to let her keep her family. But the evidence was there, and little by little, her story crumbled. She'd twisted everything, and now she had nothing left to hide behind. Her husband got custody. Walking out of that courthouse, I felt lighter, like I was finally free, not just from her lies, but from the twisted, messed up world she tried to trap me in. Now here I am, back to square one, picking up the pieces of what she tore apart. Lost friends, had to deal with the fallout at work, and I'm still single, trying to figure out what trust even means anymore. But you know what? At least I'm free. And I learned one thing the hard way. Sometimes you've got to trust your gut, ask the hard questions, and never let anyone control your reality. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. So please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.